So this is a topic that a lot of people have been asking me for a while, and it's been one that I wanted to make a video on for a while. And this is how I research my dividend stocks. What kind of process do I use? So let's go over it on a high level. Now, researching dividend stocks requires a lot of patience to find great stocks, and you have to thoroughly read through all the important financial information and other information as well. Now, most beginners really don't know how to start their own process, developing their own process of researching dividend stocks. So I wanted to kind of simplify it by showing you how I do it. Now, I kind of refined this process over the years, but this is really the process I've been following for quite a bit of while now. So let's get into it. Obviously, the first thing of any screening process is just stock screening and ID generation. Now, there's a lot of ways you can go about this, but in terms of my stock screeners that I like to use, one of the ones I like to use is Google Finance, but they actually kind of discontinued that service, so it's not available now. The other two that I use on a regular basis are Dividend.com and Finwiz. So Dividend.com has a really cool stock screener, and the cool feature about this is you can screen stocks that have increased their dividends every year for 10 years or 25 years. So that's a good starting point to find potentially fertile dividend stocks. And the second one that I use is Finwiz, and Finwiz is actually a really good free tool. The interface looks a little bit complicated, but don't worry, you can screen through a lot of different metrics and really find dividend stocks that you're looking for. And if you're interested, I'll include a description below of a video tutorial I did for Finwiz. The third thing I like to use is Morningstar.com. So the cool thing about Morningstar is it compiles a lot of the financial information of stocks over a 10-year period, so you can see things like sales growth, earnings growth, cash flow over a long period of time, and it really helps in the screening process. Obviously, once you find something you like, you're going to want to dig down a little deeper into the financials, but Morningstar is a great way to get a high-level overview of the financials. Now, once I actually find a stock that I like, the next thing I want to do is read the financial statements. I get all of my financial information from the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) website. It's called Edgar. I don't really remember what it stands for, but it's actually a pretty well-designed website considering, it's the government. Okay, so the SEC Edgar website is basically the website that houses all the information public companies file with the SEC. And also included a link below for using that website. But what you really want to do is pull the 10K, which is the annual report, the 10Q, which is the quarterly report, the 8K current report, and also the proxy statement. So with the 10K, I at least want to read the last 2 years of annual reports. For the 10Q, most of the time I like to read the latest 2 quarterly reports. The current report is pretty important because it's basically anything new, any new press releases or anything important that has happened to the company. So I like to read at least the last 6 months of current reports to get the most recent news flow about the stock. And don't worry, these are actually pretty short. They're usually less than, a page or two. And obviously the proxy statement is really important, and it's something not a lot of investors actually read. But basically, it's just a long document detailing how much the company's executives make, what the compensation structure is like, and how many shares the management team owns. So pretty important to read. The third thing I like to do is read and listen to conference calls. So most public companies will have conference calls to discuss quarterly results. And basically, they'll have prepared remarks for a conference call discussing the quarterly results, and then they'll take questions from a panel of sell-side analysts. Now, conference calls are a great way to get more information about the quarterly results that may not be disclosed in the filings. Now, I like to both read and listen to the conference calls, and like to listen because when you listen to somebody, you can hear the tone of voice, and you can hear, the tone of voice is a really good indicator of how confident or how timid management is about their outlook. So it's something that I like to do in terms of reading in between the lines. Now, conference calls will typically be, the audio will typically be archived on the investor relations website for the company for a few weeks, sometimes a few months. And you can pull the written transcript from Seeking Alpha for free. All you have to do is sign up for a free account on there, and you can pull transcripts for many years. Now, one of the last steps of the research process is actually to model out the company's financials. I only do this for stocks that I have, a great deal of interest in, because this process can be a little bit time consuming to gather all of the information into Excel. At this point, I'll calculate a bunch of ratios for the stocks, like profitability in terms of, gross margin, operating margin, net margin, sales and profit growth, debt and leverage, return on equity, and valuation. So modeling out the financials is actually a very important process, and not a lot of people put the time and effort into doing this. So if you do this, you can definitely get a leg up on other dividend investors. Now, the final thing I like to do is get other opinions about the stock. Now, you can go about this through a variety of ways. This is where Seeking Alpha comes in handy. It's basically like an open source stock research community. People post articles about why they're buying or selling a particular stock, and there's often, some great debates in the comment sections. So if you're researching a stock and you like it, you should definitely see if there's any articles on Seeking Alpha that discuss the stock. Another thing I like to do is talk to other investors. I have a few good friends who are also pretty heavily invested in dividend stocks, so we talk, on a semi-frequent basis about other stocks that we're researching. So it's a great way to kind of connect with other people and get some good feedback. Now, the stock research process that I just kind of outlined might seem a bit long, but it's definitely necessary. So a lot of people ask, how long should you research a stock for before buying it? Well, that kind of really depends, obviously on your experience, but also your comfort level. As a general rule of thumb, I like to research stocks until I'm comfortable that I have a good idea of how the business operates, what's going to happen in the future in terms of the business prospects. So in general, I would say at least spend 5 to 10 hours, bare minimum, on every name in your portfolio. Now, that might seem like a lot of time, but it's definitely necessary if you want to be investing in good dividend stocks, not ones that cut their dividends after a few months. So that's pretty much my process for screening and investing in dividend stocks. If you have any questions or any comments, be sure to comment down below or just email me. If you want to learn more about dividend investing, be sure to check out my website, dividendgrowthmasters.com, and also sign up for my newsletter if you haven't. It's completely free, and you'll get a lot of cool tidbits and hacks to basically build a dividend portfolio that you can retire off of. And if you're interested in learning more details about dividend investing and how you can, retire on dividend stocks, be sure to check out my online courses. All right, thanks guys, and see you next time.